DMX and Nas almost fought on set part 1. What happened in the next 30 seconds created a brotherhood that lasted 23 years. Harlem, New York. September 1998. The set of Belly. The air was thick with tension, not the manufactured kind that comes from actors pretending to be street, but real tension. The kind that makes crew members step back and producers nervously check their insurance policies. Two of the biggest names in hip-hop were standing 15 feet apart, and everyone on set knew that the next 60 seconds would either end in violence or something else entirely. On one side stood Earl Simmons, 27 years old, fresh off releasing It's Dark and Hell is Hot, the most successful debut album in hip-hop history. His follow-up, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, was dropping in 3 months and was already generating insane buzz. He was the hottest rapper alive. Street certified, Yonkers raised. A man who'd survived things that would have destroyed most people. And right now, in this abandoned warehouse in Harlem that had been converted into a film set, he was ready to put his hands on someone. On the other side stood Nasir Jones, 24 years old. Queensbridge legend. The man who dropped Illmatic 4 years ago and changed hip-hop forever. Already considered one of the greatest lyricists to ever touch a microphone. Intelligent, sharp, proud, a king in his own right. And he wasn't backing down from anyone. Between them stood Hype Williams, the director, a man who'd made his name directing the most iconic hip-hop videos of the decade. This was his first feature film, and he'd cast DMX and Nas as the leads. Two street hustlers navigating the criminal underworld of New York. It was supposed to be a landmark moment. 2 generations of hip-hop royalty sharing the screen. A cultural event. Instead, it was about to become a disaster. The confrontation had been building for 3 days. Small things at first. DMX showing up late. Nas making subtle comments about real actors knowing their lines. The crew sensing the competitive energy between them. Hip-hop was built on competition. Who's the best? Who's the realist? Who has the crown? And when you put 2 kings in the same castle, eventually they're going to test each other. But this wasn't about rap anymore. This was about respect, about ego, about 2 men who'd survived hell in different forms refusing to show weakness in front of each other. Or anyone else. The specific incident that triggered it was small, almost stupid. They were filming a scene where Nas's character Sincere confronts DMX's character Tommy about a deal gone wrong. The scene called for Nas to grab DMX's arm. Just acting, just blocking, just the choreography that had been rehearsed. But when Nas reached for DMX's arm during the take, DMX pulled away hard, stepped back, eyes flashing with something dangerous. "Don't fucking grab me like that," DMX said, voice low, controlled, which somehow made it more menacing. Nas looked at him confused. "That's the scene, man. That's what we rehearsed. I don't care what we rehearsed. You don't grab me like I'm some punk. It's acting, X. It's not real. Everything's real to me." Hype Williams called cut, tried to smooth it over. "Guys, let's take 5. Cool off. It's just a scene." But DMX was already walking away, jaw tight, hands clenched, and Nas was standing there, pride wounded, feeling disrespected in front of a crew full of people. That should have been the end of it. 5-minute break, reset, move on. But pride doesn't work that way. Especially not the pride of men who'd spent their entire lives proving themselves, who'd come from nothing, who'd survived by never showing weakness, by never letting anyone think they could be pushed around. During the break, someone, a production assistant trying to be helpful, told Nas that DMX had been talking shit about him earlier in the week, about how Nas was too soft for this role, about how Queensbridge niggas don't know real street shit. It wasn't true. DMX hadn't said any of that. But the PA didn't know that, and Nas, already irritated, already feeling disrespected, believed it. When filming resumed, Nas walked onto set with a different energy, harder, more confrontation. And when they got to the same scene, when Nas reached for DMX's arm again, he did it more aggressively, not violently, but with an edge, a challenge. DMX didn't pull away this time. He stepped forward, got in Nas's face, close enough that their foreheads were almost touching. "You got a problem?" DMX asked, voice quiet, deadly. You tell me, Nas said, not backing down. You're the one talking shit. What shit? About me being soft? About Queensbridge? DMX's eyes narrowed. I never said that. Yeah? Then why's your boy running his mouth? What boy? I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You know exactly what I'm talking about. And just like that, they were 15 feet apart. Crew members stepping back, Hype Williams standing between them with his hands up, and everyone on set, holding their breath. DMX was coiled like a spring, ready to explode. His whole life, violence had been the answer. When someone disrespected you, you put hands on them. When someone challenged you, you showed them who you were. It was the only language he'd known, the only language that had kept him alive in Yonkers, in the streets, in prison. Nas was different. He'd grown up in Queensbridge, one of the roughest projects in New York. But he'd always been more cerebral, more thoughtful. Violence wasn't his first instinct. Words were, but he wasn't a punk. He'd been in fights, he'd proven himself, and right now, with his pride on the line, with DMX in his face, with a crew watching, he wasn't backing down. Hype Williams knew he had maybe 30 seconds before this turned physical. He'd seen enough street confrontations to know the sign, the body language, the breathing, the way DMX's hands were flexing, the way Nas's jaw was set. Both of you stop, Hype said, voice firm but not aggressive. This is fucking stupid. Whatever you think happened, it's bullshit. X, you didn't say shit about Nas. I've been with you every day. And Nas, whoever told you that was lying, probably trying to start drama. Then why? Nas started. Because people start shit, Hype interrupted. Because you're two of the biggest names in hip-hop, and someone wants to see you fight. Because drama sells. Because this industry is full of people who'd rather see you destroy each other than build together. DMX was still staring at Nas, still tense, but something in Hype's words was landing. You really didn't say that? Nas asked, looking directly at DMX. I don't talk behind people's backs. DMX said, you got a problem with me. I'll tell you to your face. Then we don't have a problem. We don't? Not unless you do. They stood there for another few seconds, the crew watching, Hype holding his breath, the warehouse silent, except for the hum of the lights. And then DMX did something unexpected. He laughed. Not a mean laugh, not mocking, just acknowledgement of the absurdity of how close they'd come to destroying something before it even started. This is fucking stupid. DMX. Yeah. Nas agreed, and despite himself, he smiled slightly. It really is. Someone played us. Yeah. You know what's funny? DMX said. I respect you. I respect your music. I respect what you did with Illmatic. That shit changed the game. And here we are about to fight over some bullshit someone made up. Nas nodded slowly. I respect you too, man. What you're doing right now, it's different. It's raw. It's real. I fuck with it. Then why are we doing this? Pride. Nas said. Simple, honest. Yeah. DMX said. Pride. They looked at each other for another moment, and then simultaneously, they both extended their hands, dapped up. The crew exhaled collectively. Hype Williams clapped his hands once. All right. Let's reset. And this time let's make a fucking movie. They shot the scene again, and this time it worked. The tension was still there. But now it was channeled. Now it was acting. Now it was two professionals at the top of their game, bringing authentic energy to their characters. When Hype called cut, both DMX and Nas knew something had shifted. The competitive energy was still there. Hip-hop ran on competition, and that wasn't going anywhere. But now it was redirected. Instead of fighting each other, they were pushing each other to be better. Over the next 6 weeks of filming, DMX and Nas built something rare in hip-hop. A genuine friendship, not a collaboration for clout, not a manufactured relationship for publicity. A real bond based on mutual respect and shared experience. They'd come from different boroughs, Yonkers versus Queensbridge, but the story was the same: poverty, violence, broken homes, searching for something to believe in, finding hip-hop, using words and music as a way to process pain, becoming famous, and realizing that success doesn't heal childhood trauma. One night, after a particularly intense day of filming, they sat in DMX's trailer, just the two of them. No cameras, no crew, No performance. Can I ask you something? Nas said. Yeah. Why'd you pull away when I grabbed your arm that first time? The real reason. DMX was quiet for a moment, deciding whether to be honest. My mother used to grab me like that when she was about to hit me, and for a second, when you reached for me, I wasn't on a movie set. I was 7 years old, and I was about to get my ass beat for something I didn't do. Nas absorbed that. I didn't know. How could you? I don't talk about that shit. I get it though. I got triggers too, things that set me off that don't make sense to anyone else. Like what? People raising their voice at me, especially men. My pops used to scream at my moms, and when someone yells at me now, even if it's not aggressive, something in me wants to swing, wants to protect, even though there's nothing to protect against. They sat with that for a while. Two men who'd been molded by trauma, who'd survived by being hard, who'd built walls so high that even they sometimes forgot what was on the other side. You ever think about what we could have been? DMX asked. If we'd had different childhoods, if we'd been loved right, protected right, all the time. Nas said. But then I think, would we be who we are? Would we have made the music we made? Sometimes I think the pain is what made us great, and I don't know if I should be grateful for that or furious about it. Both. DMX said. We can be both. The conversation continued for hours, about their mothers, their absent fathers, their struggles with addiction and depression, and the weight of being icons when internally they still felt like broken kids. About the industry that wanted them to stay in character, to always be the street rapper, the lyrical genius, the image, and never just be human. By the time they left that trailer, they understood each other in a way that few people in their lives did, because hip-hop, for all its bravado and competition, was really just a collection of wounded people trying to turn pain into power. And when two wounded people recognize each other, really see each other, something profound happens. The rest of the belly shoot was smooth. DMX and Nas had chemistry on screen that came from their real connection off screen. The scenes where their characters were supposed to be brothers felt authentic because in a way they were. When the film wrapped, they exchanged numbers, made promises to stay in touch, and unlike most Hollywood promises, they kept them. In 1999, when Nas was working on his album Nostradamus, he called DMX. Yo, I got this track, I need you on it. What's it about? Life, choices, the streets, the same shit we always rap about, but I want your energy on it. Your rawness, send it over. The track was Life We Chose, a meditation on the consequences of street life, the violence, the loss, the way the game you choose to play eventually plays you. Nas had already written his verses. Intricate, multi-layered, the kind of wordplay he was known for. DMX listened to the beat once, went into the booth, and freestyled his entire verse in one take. No writing, just raw emotion channeled through the microphone. When he finished, Nas was standing in the control room with his mouth open. You just did that off the top. That's how I work, DMX said. That's insane. Nah, that's real. I don't got time to sit and craft lines. I just say what I feel in the moment. If it's real, people will feel it. Nas had always been a writer, hours spent perfecting metaphors, layering meanings, crafting verses, like a poet. And here was DMX, just channeling pure emotion, and it was just as effective. Different approaches, same goal, different paths to truth. The song became a fan favorite, not a single but the kind of deep cut that real heads appreciate, the kind of collaboration that felt organic instead of forced. Over the next few years, DMX and Nas stayed close. They'd see each other at award shows, at industry events, at studios, always dapped up, always showed love. In an industry full of fake friendships and manufactured beef, their connection was real. In 2001, when Nas was going through his highly publicized divorce, DMX called him, "You good?" DMX asked. "Not really." Nas admitted. "This shit is ugly, man. She's taking me for everything. And the media is making me look like the villain." Fuck the media. You know who you are. That's all that matters. Sometimes I'm not sure I do know. Sometimes I feel like I've been playing a character so long I forgot who Nasir is underneath Nas. Then find him, take time, get therapy, do whatever you gotta do, but don't let this industry destroy you. Don't let the fame eat you alive. It was advice DMX wished someone had given him. He was deep in his own struggles. Addiction spiraling, legal troubles mounting. The weight of being DMX crushing Earl Simmons underneath. But he could see Nas heading down a similar path. And he didn't want that for his friend. You ever think about quitting? Nas asked. Every day, DMX said honestly. Every fucking day I think about walking away, going somewhere quiet, being Earl instead of X. But I don't know. This is all I know. This is all I've ever been good at. Same. So we keep going. We keep fighting. We keep making music that means something. And we try not to lose ourselves completely in the process. Is that enough? I don't know, man. I really don't. In 2002, Nas was in the middle of his infamous beef with Jay-Z, the rap battle that dominated hip-hop. Takeover versus Ether, two titans going to war. And while most of the industry was picking sides, treating it like sport, DMX saw something different. He saw two brothers destroying each other for entertainment. He saw the industry profiting off black men's pain. He saw the same pattern that had been playing out in hip-hop since the beginning. Build them up, pit them against each other, watch them DMX called Nas during the height of the beef. You know you're being played, right? DMX said. What do you mean? You and Jay, this beef, it's entertainment for white executives. They're making money off you two going to war. This isn't about them. This is about him coming at me when I was down. I get it. I respect it. But remember, when this is over, when the smoke clears, you still gotta live with the consequences. And the executives who profited off this war, they'll move on to the next beef, the next drama, but you'll be left dealing with the fallout. So what, I'm supposed to just take it? Let him disrespect me? Nah, you respond. You defend yourself. Ether was necessary. I'm just saying, don't lose yourself in the battle. Don't let the war become bigger than the truth you're fighting for. Nas appreciated that. Appreciated that DMX wasn't picking sides, wasn't treating it like a sport, was just being a friend, reminding him that beyond the bars and the beef, he was still Nasir, still human, still worthy of peace. The years passed. DMX and Nas took different paths. DMX's struggles with addiction became more public, more severe. Arrests, rehab stints, comeback attempts, the cycle of recovery and relapse that defined his later years. Nas evolved, married Khalees, had a son, continued making music, matured into an elder statesman of hip-hop. But whenever they saw each other, the bond remained. No judgment, no performance, just two men who'd almost fought on a film set in 1998, and instead chose brotherhood. In 2006 they ran into each other at the BET Hip Hop Awards. It had been months since they'd spoken. DMX was in a bad place. Another arrest, another public embarrassment, another news cycle about how he'd fallen off. The industry had largely written him off. Radio wasn't playing his new music, his label was losing faith, and internally, Earl was drowning. Nas saw him standing alone in a hallway backstage, away from the crowds, away from the cameras, just standing there looking lost. X. Nas called out. DMX turned. For a second Nas saw something in his eyes. Shame, like he didn't want Nas to see him like this, broken, washed up, a shadow of who he'd been. What's good, God? DMX said, trying to sound normal, failing. Nas walked over, didn't say anything, just looked at his friend, really looked at him, saw the weight loss, the dark circles under his eyes, the way his clothes hung loose, the tremor in his hand. When's the last time you ate? Nas asked. I don't know. Yesterday, day before. Come on. Where? We're getting food, right now. Nah man, I'm good. I wasn't asking. They left the awards show, left the industry politics, and the networking and the performance, went to a diner in Brooklyn. Nothing fancy, just a place that was open late and served real food. They sat in a booth in the back. Nas ordered for both of them, burgers, fries, milkshakes. DMX picked at his food. Not really eating. Talk to me, Nas said. About whatever's killing you. DMX laughed. No humor. How much time you got? As much as you need. And so DMX talked, really talked, about how he'd relapsed again, about how he couldn't stop, about how every time he tried to get clean, the pain came back worse, about how he'd been using since he was 14, and didn't know how to exist without something to numb the memories, about his mother, about the abuse, about being forced to rob people when he was a kid, about watching his friends die, about surviving things that should have killed him, and now wishing they had. Nas listened, didn't interrupt, didn't offer solutions, just listened. You know what the worst part is? DMX said, voice breaking. I can't even enjoy my success. I got money, I got fame, I got respect, and none of it matters. Because I'm still that scared kid in Yonkers getting beat by his mother. I'm still that 14-year-old smoking crack for the first time thinking it was just weed. I'm still that teenager sleeping in abandoned buildings with dogs, because they were the only ones who didn't hurt me. Success didn't save me, fame didn't heal me, and I don't know what will. Maybe nothing will, Nas said quietly. Maybe some wounds don't heal. Maybe you just learn to live with them. That's a fucked up answer. It's an honest one. They sat with that for a while. The diner was mostly empty, just them and a few other late-night souls. The fluorescent lights harsh, the smell of grease and coffee. A moment of realness in a life full of performance. I think about dying, DMX admitted. A lot, more than I should. And sometimes it doesn't feel scary. Sometimes it feels like relief. Nas's throat tightened. Don't do that. Don't do what? Don't give up. Not yet. Because you matter. Not DMX the rapper. Earl. You as a person, you matter to me, you matter to your kids, you matter to everyone you've touched with your music, and I know it doesn't feel like that right now. I know the pain is louder than anything else, but it's not all there is. How do you know? Because I've been there. Different struggle but the same darkness. After my divorce, when my career was struggling, when people were saying I was washed up, I felt it too, that pull toward the edge, that voice saying it would be easier to just stop. And you know what kept me here? What? Knowing that pain isn't the end of the story, it's part of the story, and if I ended it there, that's all it would ever be. But if I kept going, there might be more chapters, more music, more moments of peace, more reasons to stay. And is there? DMX asked. More reasons to stay? Yeah, Nas said. There is, and there will be for you too, if you stick around long enough to find them. They stayed in that diner until 4 a.m. talking about everything and nothing, about their kids, and their regrets, about the music they still wanted to make, about the peace they were both chasing, about brotherhood and what it means to show up for someone even when, especially when they're at their lowest. When they finally left, Nas drove DMX back to his hotel, walked him to his room, made sure he got inside safely. Thank you, DMX said at the door. For what? For not giving up on me. Everyone else has. My label. The industry. Sometimes I think even I've given up on me, but you haven't, and I won't. Nas said, that's what brothers do. We show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. They hugged. A real hug. Not the quick dap up of industry acquaintances. A genuine embrace between two people who'd saved each other's lives more times than either could count. Over the next few years, this became their pattern. Whenever DMX was struggling, whenever he was in crisis, Nas would show up. Not always physically. Sometimes it was just a phone call, a text, a reminder that someone still cared, but he showed up. And sometimes DMX did the same for Nas. In 2008, when Nas was dealing with the fallout from his divorce from Kay, when the custody battle was ugly in public, when he was being painted as a villain in the media, DMX called. You good? DMX asked. Not really. Nas admitted. Yeah. I figured. That's why I'm calling. What you need? Honestly, I don't know. Everything feels like it's falling apart. My marriage, my relationship with my son, my reputation, and I don't know how to fix any of it. Maybe you can't fix it, DMX said. Maybe you just have to go through it, feel all the shit, let it hurt, and then eventually it'll hurt a little less. That's what you do? When I'm not using to numb it? Yeah, I sit with the pain, I let it wash over me, I cry, I rage, I break down, and then for a little while I feel lighter, like I let some of the poison out. Does it work? Sometimes. Not always, but it's better than pretending I'm okay when I'm not. They talked for hours that night, about divorce and custody, and the way the industry takes private pain and makes it public spectacle, about being fathers and trying to break cycle, about the pressure of being icons, when internally you still feel like that hurt kid. You remember when we almost fought? Nas asked. On the Belly set? Yeah. Of course, I think about that sometimes, how close we came to fucking it all up, how one different choice and we would have spent the last 10 years as enemies, instead of brothers. What made you pull back that day? DMX asked. Really, what stopped you from swinging? Nas thought about it. Hype.
The way he looked at both of us and called us out for being and something in his voice, he wasn't scared of us. He was disappointed in us, like he knew we were better than that, and I didn't want to prove him wrong. Yeah, DMX said. Same, and also I saw something in your eyes when we were face to face. Not fear, not aggression, just tiredness, like you were as exhausted from performing as I was, and I realized we were the same. Different details, same story, and I didn't want to hurt someone who understood. We're still the same, Nas said, still tired, still performing, still trying to figure out how to be human in an industry that wants us to be myths. Yeah, but at least we're doing it together. In 2011, they collaborated again. Nas was working on an album and wanted DMX on a track. By this point, DMX's commercial viability was basically gone. Radio wouldn't touch him, labels didn't want him, his name had become synonymous with tabloid drama rather than musical genius. But Nas didn't care about any of that. He wanted his brother on his album, because DMX was still one of the realest to ever do it. Because beneath the addiction and the arrests and the public struggles, Earl Simmons was still a poet, still a voice for the voiceless, still someone who could channel pain into power. The song was called Surviving the Game, a meditation on making it through another day in an industry and a world that wanted to consume you. Nas laid down his verses first, intricate, thoughtful, painting pictures with words. When DMX came to the studio, he was in rough shape, visibly using, hands shaking. But when he stepped into the booth and heard the beat, something shifted, something clicked, and for 4 minutes he wasn't the tabloid headline. He was X, he was the dog, he was the voice that had defined late 90s hip-hop. His verse was raw, unpolished, honest to the point of being uncomfortable. He rapped about addiction, about wanting to die, about fighting demons that were winning, about being Earl trapped inside X's body, about surviving not because you're strong but because dying takes effort too. When he finished, the studio was silent. The engineer, the producer, Nas, everyone just sat with what they'd witnessed. That was, Nas started, couldn't find the words. Too much? DMX asked, suddenly uncertain. No, that was perfect, that was real, that was why I wanted you on this. They listened to the playback together. Nas's verses about navigating the industry, DMX's verse about barely surviving your own mind. Together they created something powerful, a duet of different struggles, a reminder that pain comes in many forms, but the need to express it is universal. The song didn't chart, didn't get radio play, didn't become a commercial success, but it meant something to the people who heard it, to the kids struggling with addiction, who saw themselves in DMX's, to the adults dealing with depression, who related to Nas's exhaustion, to the artists trying to survive an industry that wanted to eat them alive. And it meant something to DMX and Nas. It was proof that they could still create, still collaborate, still turn pain into art, still matter, beyond the fame and the drama, and the headline. After they finished recording, they sat in the studio parking lot, same as they'd done after filming Belly, same as they'd done dozens of times over the years, just talking, being human, being brothers. You think we'll make it? DMX asked. You and me, you think we'll survive that? You mean the industry? I mean everything. The industry, the addiction, the pain, the weight of being us. You think we'll make it to old age? Nas was quiet for a long moment. Being honest meant acknowledging the possibility that DMX might not, that the addiction might win, that the next relapse might be the last one. I think you'll make it as long as you keep fighting, Nas said carefully, and I think I'll be here, fighting with you, for as long as you need me, and if I stop fighting, then I'll fight for you, until you're ready to fight again. That's what brothers do. DMX's eyes got wet. I don't deserve you, man. Yeah, you do. You deserve someone who sees you, who knows your worth even when you forget it, who refuses to give up on you even when you've given up on yourself. You deserve that. Everyone does. They sat there until the sun started to rise. Two kings past their commercial prime, two wounded healers, trying to save each other, two men who'd almost destroyed their friendship before it started, and had spent the last 13 years choosing each other instead. The final years were hard. DMX's addiction continued to escalate, more arrests, more rehab stints, more public embarrassments, and through it all, Nas stayed, didn't always succeed in helping, didn't always know what to say or do, but he showed up, called, texted, checked in, reminded DMX that someone still cared whether he lived or died.
In late 2020 during the pandemic, they had what would be one of their last real conversations. Both isolated, both struggling with the lockdown, and the weight of being alone with their thoughts. "This quarantine shit is fucking with me," DMX said. "Being alone this much? Can't tour, can't perform, can't distract myself. Just me and my demons." "I know," Nas said. "Same here. Not the same demons, but the same isolation. The same forced confrontation with yourself." "You ever wonder if we made the right choices?" DMX asked. "Choosing this life. Choosing hip-hop. Choosing fame. All the time. But then I think, what else could we have done? We were kids with nothing but words. This saved us. Even if it also damaged us. It saved us first. Did it though? Or did it just give us a bigger platform to destroy ourselves on?" "Both," Nas said. "It did both. That's the tragedy and the beauty of it. Hip-hop gave us a voice. Gave us power. Gave us a way out. But it also amplified all our trauma. Put all our dysfunction on display. Made our private pain public consumption." "Would you do it again?" DMX asked. "Knowing everything you know now, would you still choose this?" Nas thought about it for a long time. "Yeah, I would, because in between all the pain, there were moments of pure magic. Moments of connection. Moments of creating something that helped people survive. And those moments, they mattered. They still matter. I wish I could see it that way." "You will. Someday, when you get some distance. When the pain isn't so loud, you'll remember why you started. Why you fell in love with this. And it'll make sense again. I hope so, man. I really hope so." That was December. 4 months later. DMX was gone. Overdose in his home. Life support at White Plains Hospital. Family making the impossible decision to let him go. April 9, 2021. 50 years old. A life of brilliance and struggle finally ending. Nas got the news and felt the ground shift beneath him. He'd known this was coming. Had been preparing for it in some ways. But knowing and experiencing are different things. And the reality of DMX being gone, truly gone, permanently gone, was devastating in a way he hadn't anticipated. He thought about calling, then remembered there was no one to call. Thought about texting. Realized how stupid that was. Found himself pulling up old messages between them. Years of conversations, late-night check-ins, inside jokes, mutual support, evidence of a friendship that had spanned more than 2 decades. The memorial service was massive. Barclays Center packed with 20,000 people, celebrities and fans, and industry people and family. A celebration of DMX's life and legacy. A reminder of how much he'd meant to so many people. Nas was asked to speak early in the planning process. He said yes immediately. Because this was his brother. Because their story needed to be told. Because the world needed to know that DMX was more than the headlines, more than the addiction, more than the struggle.